Eshan slowly opened his eyes. But the world around him did not look familiar. The first thing he noticed was the soft, glowing light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It was not sunlight. It was gentle, almost calming, and it painted everything in shades of silver and blue. His head throbbed slightly, and his vision wavered as he tried to make sense of what had happened. He remembered the sudden flash, the violent shaking of his escape pod, and then, nothing. As his eyes adjusted, he realized he was not alone. Sitting cross-legged on the smooth floor beside him were two figures. At first, he thought they might be human. But a closer look made him stop in confusion. The taller one, a motherly figure, had luminous patterns running along her skin that seemed to pulse faintly as if they were alive. Her eyes were larger than any human's, with a kind of depth that made it hard to look away. Beside her, a smaller figure, clearly a child, peeked at him with wide curiosity, her small hands fidgeting as if she wanted to touch him but didn't dare. "Are you awake?" the taller figure asked, her voice soft, musical, and soothing. Eshan's mouth moved, but he could not form words at first. His throat was dry, and his mind struggled to catch up with reality. He managed a small nod. The child giggled, a sound that reminded him of wind chimes. "He is awake! He is awake!" Eshan's confusion grew. Where am I?" he finally croaked. "You are safe," the mother said. "I am Lyra. And this is my daughter, Maya. You were found drifting near our planet. We brought you here to heal." "Planet?" Eshan whispered. You mean I'm not on Earth?" "No," Lyra said gently. "You are far from home, human. But here you will be safe." Eshan tried to remember what had happened. He had been traveling in a small escape pod, fleeing from the Varak. The memory was blurry, but he could remember the panic, the alarms, the fire, and the sharp pull of gravity as the pod escaped the ship. And then, a bright light, and nothing. He looked around the room. It was unlike any structure he had ever seen. The walls were smooth and seemed to flow in gentle curves. There were no seams, no doors in the places he would expect. A soft hum filled the space, vibrating through the floor beneath him. Eshan's engineer instincts kicked in despite the haze in his head. The room seemed alive in some way, responsive rather than static. Maya crawled closer, her glowing eyes studying him. "You are strange," she said, curiosity bubbling in her tone. "Your skin is soft and pale. And your eyes, they are like little moons." Eshan chuckled weakly, the sound hoarse. "I'm human," he said simply. "Human," Lyra repeated, smiling faintly. "Yes, I know what that is. You are very different. But that is good. Different is often stronger than similar." Eshan wanted to ask 100 questions. Who were they? How did they find him? And what exactly was happening outside this room? But for now, his body demanded rest. He felt exhausted in a way he hadn't in years. Lyra seemed to understand. She gestured toward a low, curved bench nearby that had a glowing surface, soft but firm. Eshan lay down, watching the strange mother and daughter as they sat quietly. "You can sleep," Lyra said. "We will watch over you. The world outside may be strange, but you are safe here." Maya climbed onto Lyra's lap, resting her small head against her mother's chest. "Are you hungry?" she asked Eshan after a while. Eshan shook his head. His body was too tired, and food seemed far away in importance. But something about the child's gentle concern warmed him. It reminded him of home, of family, of the things he had missed in his hurried, dangerous life. After what felt like hours, Eshan's eyes finally closed. But sleep did not come easily. He kept seeing flashes of the pod, the flash of light, and the strange calmness of this place. He wondered if it was all a dream, if he had passed into some afterlife or hallucination. But the faint rhythmic hum in the walls, the soft pulse of Lyra's presence beside him, and Maya's occasional whisper pulled him back to reality. When he woke again, it was to a gentle vibration beneath him. The floor shifted subtly, as if the room itself were breathing. Eshan sat up slowly, testing his strength. He felt better than before, though a faint ache ran through his body. Lyra and Maya were still there, watching him carefully. "You move well," Lyra said. "You are recovering faster than we expected. Your species, you are strong." Eshan nodded, still unsure what to say. "Thank you for saving me." "You were lucky," Lyra replied. "We found you before the storm reached your pod." Eshan frowned. "Storm?" Lyra's eyes darkened slightly. "Not a storm of wind or rain. Something else approaches, something we do not welcome. You must learn about it soon. But first you need to regain your strength." Eshan wanted to ask more, but the room shuddered suddenly, lightly at first, and then stronger. His heart skipped. Lyra's calm face did not change, but her hand rested gently on Maya's head. "It is close," she said. "The world outside has movement. You must see, but with caution." Eshan stood slowly, testing his limbs. The room had no conventional exit, yet the wall before him rippled like water. Lyra gestured. "This way." He followed, stepping through what appeared to be a solid surface. And suddenly he was outside. The world that greeted him made him stumble back. Valaris. It was beautiful in ways words struggled to capture. Floating stones drifted lazily in the sky, their undersides glowing softly. Trees rose in impossible curves, their leaves shimmering with an internal light. Rivers of liquid light wound between mountains that floated high above the ground. The air was alive with color, scent, and sound, though none of it was harsh. Maya ran ahead, her small hands tracing a floating stone as it passed. "See!" she cried. "We live here. You are safe here." Eshan's breath caught. The planet was breathtaking. The physics seemed different, but not impossible. There was a rhythm to the place, a harmony that felt almost alive. He had never seen anything like it in all his travels. Lyra followed, keeping her hand lightly on his shoulder. "We are not a fighting people," she explained. "We study, we explore, and we protect. But the world is changing. Other species move nearby, and some do not respect peace. You were caught in one such conflict." Eshan nodded slowly, trying to connect the dots. He remembered the Varak. They were a ruthless species, expanding aggressively. If they had tracked his pod here, the peaceful world he was now seeing could be in danger. Lyra seemed to sense his thoughts. "Yes, that is why we must be careful. But for now, you will rest, learn, and regain your strength. Then, if you are willing, you will help us understand how your species survives such conflicts. We can teach you, and you can teach us. Together, perhaps we can prepare for what comes." Eshan looked at Maya. The child smiled at him, her eyes full of hope and wonder. He felt a strange sense of calm, but also a stirring of responsibility. This planet, these beings, had saved him when he was lost and alone. Perhaps now it was his turn to return the favor. For the first time since the crash, Eshan felt something he had not felt in a long while. Purpose. As night fell on Valaris, the floating stones reflected the twin moons of the planet, casting soft, dancing lights over the landscape. Eshan lay on the soft ground, watching the sky, and thought about the journey ahead. He did not know what awaited him outside this safe place. He only knew that he had opened his eyes to something extraordinary, and that he could never go back to being the same person again. The alien mother and daughter sat quietly beside him, guardians of his new reality, as he drifted into a deep, healing sleep. Tomorrow, he would begin to understand this world. And maybe, just maybe, he would find a new home among these strange but kind beings. But deep in the distance, past the glowing forests and floating mountains, something stirred a faint shimmer in the dark space beyond Valaris. Something was approaching. Eshan did not know it yet, but his awakening was only the beginning. The morning light on Valaris was gentle and alive. Eshan woke to the soft hum of the planet and the faint glow of floating stones outside his resting place. He stretched, still amazed that his body felt stronger than it had the day before. The crash, the pod, the endless fear, all of it felt distant, like a dream fading at the edges. Yet, the alien mother and daughter sitting near him reminded him that it was all real. "Good morning," Lyra said, her voice warm. "You slept well." Aishan nodded, trying to gather his thoughts. I think so. It feels different here. Calm. Valaris has that effect on those who are willing to see it," Lyra replied. "Come. I want to show you our world." Maya grabbed his hand instantly, tugging him toward the softly glowing landscape outside. Eshan had already glimpsed the floating stones and the shimmering forests the night before. But in daylight, the planet seemed alive with a rhythm he could almost feel in his chest. The air shimmered with subtle light waves, and strange plants pulsed faintly, like they were breathing. Streams of liquid light curved between hills and mountains that hovered above the ground, and small creatures with translucent wings darted in patterns too fast to follow. "Where do you live?" Eshan asked, his eyes following Maya's movement. "In the cradle," she said proudly, pointing to a valley surrounded by floating cliffs. "It is our home. Mother says it is peaceful, and it always protects those who are kind." Ishan took in the view. The cradle looked like a natural fortress, yet it was open and welcoming. Bridges of glowing light arched over streams, connecting stone platforms, and the soft hum of energy filled the air, blending with the sounds of flowing liquid and fluttering wings. "You will like it here," Lyra said. "But there are things you must understand first. Valaris is not just beauty. It is alive in ways your species may not fully grasp. The ground, the air, even the stones have memory and awareness. They react to those who touch them. Those who respect it are safe. Those who do not, less so." Aishan nodded. "I will be careful." He felt a mix of curiosity and respect. There was a rhythm to this world, a harmony he had never felt on any planet before. Even his engineering mind sensed the order behind the beauty, the invisible currents of energy flowing everywhere. As they walked, Maya asked endless questions. "What is your ship like? How do you survive in space? Can you make fire? Can humans fly without ships?" Eshan laughed quietly. The child's curiosity reminded him of the explorers he had read about as a boy. "We survive differently," he explained. "We have machines to protect us, and we use energy in many ways. But we are fragile compared to your world." "Fragile?" Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Not weak," Eshan clarified. "Flexible. Adaptive. Humans survive by solving problems, even when everything seems impossible. We never give up." Lyra studied him, as if weighing his words. "Your species. That is something to remember. Strength is not always in power. Sometimes, it is in persistence and creativity." They reached the heart of the cradle, where a circle of smooth, pale stones surrounded a shallow pool of liquid light. Lyra gestured to the pool. "This is the place where we create and learn. Maya will show you how we use energy to form tools and devices." Aishan knelt by the pool, watching as Maya extended her hands. Thin streams of light rose from the liquid, swirling around her fingers. They shaped themselves into small, floating platforms and intricate patterns, moving and folding in ways that defied his intuition. "This is amazing," he whispered. "It's like sculpting energy itself." Maya giggled. "We can do more. Watch." She tapped a stream of light, and it expanded into a flat surface with glowing symbols. "This is a communicator," she explained. "We can talk to anyone on Valaris with it." Ishan's mind raced. He had seen similar devices in human technology, but this was different. It combined intelligence, adaptability, and simplicity. This could help so much if humans could use it," he said. "Or maybe we could combine it with human designs. There is potential here." Lyra nodded slowly. "That is why we brought you here. You survived a Varak attack. You know the danger they bring. If we learn from each other, we may stand a chance against what is coming. Eshan froze at her words. The Varak. He had barely escaped them once, and now their shadow seemed to stretch across Valaris. They can find you? He asked, a knot tightening in his stomach. They may already be aware of your presence, Lyra said. Your pod left traces. The Varak follow patterns. They do not stop easily. That is why we must prepare. Eshan nodded. His mind, still recovering from the crash, suddenly shifted into focus. He had spent years engineering ships, defenses, and survival systems. He had studied alien worlds, but he had never worked with a species like this before. Now, he could combine his knowledge with theirs. Maybe they could build something no Varak force could break. Over the next hours, Eshan learned how Valaris used energy to shape matter and form tools. He started sketching hybrid designs, blending human mechanics with Valarisian energy constructs. Maya's small hands moved rapidly over glowing panels, translating his rough sketches into workable energy models. Lyra watched quietly, offering guidance and careful corrections. What you humans call engineering. It is different, Lyra said at one point. You see patterns and rules, but also make leaps of imagination. That is rare here. Most of us follow the flow. You create new flows. Eshan smiled, feeling a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time since his pod drifted away from the Varak, he felt like he could make a difference. The day passed quickly as he learned to adapt to Valarisian technology. By evening, he had helped Maya create a small, floating shield that could expand and contract with thought. Lyra tested it, impressed with the design. You may have a gift, she said, but the real test is coming. The Varak may be closer than we think. That night, Eshan stood on a cliff overlooking the glowing rivers and floating mountains. Lyra and Maya joined him. It is beautiful, he said softly. It feels alive. It is, Lyra said, and it will defend itself. But even Valaris is not invincible. That is why you are here. Your knowledge, your experience, your persistence. Humans survive because they never stop trying. You can help us survive too. Maya climbed onto his shoulder, her small hands gripping gently. We will do it together, she said, eyes bright. Eshan felt a surge of determination. He had been a survivor before, but now he was more than that. He was part of something larger, something worth fighting for. Valaris had given him a second chance, and he would not waste it. As night deepened, he studied the skies. Stars glimmered beyond Valaris's twin moons, and in the distance, he thought he saw movement. Small flashes, almost imperceptible. His instincts screamed at him. The Varak were not far away. Lyra noticed his gaze. You see them, she said. Your species feels danger differently. That is useful. We must act, but carefully. If the Varak detect panic, they will strike harder. We need strategy, not fear. Eshan nodded. We can combine your energy shields with my human engineering. We can make defenses that adapt, that respond to the Varak before they can even land. You believe this? Lyra asked softly, almost incredulous. I do, Eshan said firmly. Humans survive by thinking differently. You saved me, and now I will help protect you. Together, we can stand. Maya leaned against him, whispering, I like that. You make the world feel safe. Eshan smiled at her. For the first time, he felt the weight of responsibility, but also the warmth of trust. These beings had risked nothing but kindness for him. He owed them more than gratitude. He owed them his skill, his mind, and if necessary, his life. Over the next hours, Eshan sketched defensive plans on floating panels, working side by side with Maya and under Lyra's watchful guidance. They experimented with hybrid shields, energy barriers, and adaptive platforms. Each small success gave them confidence, but the thought of the Varak waiting beyond the horizon kept them alert. As dawn approached, Eshan paused, looking out over the glowing forests. He felt a strange calm, even though danger loomed. Valaris was alive, beautiful, and resilient, and now, he was part of it. The Varak were coming, yes. But Eshan knew something the invaders did not. Humans did not give up. And together with Lyra, Maya, and Valaris itself, they would not be easily defeated. This was the beginning of something greater than survival. This was a chance to show courage, ingenuity, and the human spirit in a galaxy that had yet to see what humanity could truly offer. Eshan woke to another bright morning on Valaris. The soft light of the floating stones painted the cradle in calm shades of blue and silver. Today felt different. The air hummed with energy, and Eshan could sense the tension beneath the surface of Valaris's serene beauty. The Varak were close, and he could feel it not as a thought, but as a pulse in his chest. A warning his human instincts recognized immediately. Lyra and Maya were already awake, moving with quiet purpose through the living spaces of the cradle. Maya's small fingers traced the patterns in the glowing floor, and she hummed softly. Eshan watched her for a moment. The child's curiosity and calmness were remarkable. Even now, faced with the threat of the Varak, she moved as if Valaris itself would protect her. "Good morning," Lyra said, noticing him. Her eyes, calm but focused, held a weight that reminded him of the responsibility they had entrusted to him. "Today, we prepare. The Varak may arrive sooner than we hoped. We cannot rely on hope alone." Eshan nodded. He had spent all night thinking, sketching, and imagining possible defenses. Humans were adaptive, and he knew that combining his engineering with Velarisian energy technology could make something powerful, something the Varak would not anticipate. Maya bounced lightly on her feet. "I want to help," she exclaimed. "I can move the energy, make it stronger." "You will help," Eshan said with a smile. "We will work together. Your world has magic, Maya, but it needs a plan. That's where humans are good. We plan, we prepare, and we fight smart." They started the day by reviewing the small shields they had tested the day before. Eshan drew diagrams in the air, linking human logic with Velarisian energy flows. Maya's hands danced over floating panels, shaping and connecting energy streams with precision. Lyra observed, offering guidance when necessary but allowing the child and human to experiment freely. "You see," Eshan said, pointing at a small floating platform, "if we can make these shields expand automatically when the Varak approach, we don't need to react fast enough to survive. The shields will react for us." Lyra nodded. "You think ahead like our scholars and warriors combined. Few can do that." Hours passed quickly. They tested different configurations. Energy nets to slow approaching ships, adaptive platforms to redirect attacks, and shield barriers that could bend light, hiding their installations from sensors. Eshan's mind raced with possibilities. He sketched, Maya adjusted, and slowly, their combined designs began to take shape. "This is good," Lyra said after reviewing a new design. "But you cannot underestimate the Varak. They are relentless. Your human devices, they are clever. But clever alone will not be enough." Eshan understood. "I know. That's why we will combine clever with unexpected. We will use the planet's energy itself. Valaris is alive, and it can fight with us if we guide it." He led Lyra and Maya to the edges of the cradle, where the floating mountains met the horizon. He placed his hands over the ground and closed his eyes. He could feel the subtle pulses of energy flowing through Valaris. It was like touching the planet's heartbeat. He imagined tiny currents of energy flowing toward his designs, bending around the shields, reinforcing them. Maya watched in awe. "You can feel it," she whispered. "Yes," Eshan said. "Humans can sense patterns if we focus. This planet is amazing, and it can help us." Lyra's expression was a mixture of amazement and caution. "If you are right, Eshan, then the Varak will not expect us to fight like this. But we must act carefully. If we trigger the planet too soon, they may detect us before we are ready." Eshan nodded. "We will set the triggers close to the cradle. If they come, the shields will rise. The energy will guide our traps, and the Varrock will think the planet itself is defending us. The preparation took the rest of the day. They worked tirelessly, moving through the cradle, connecting platforms, testing energy flows, and shaping the floating shields. Maya's laughter echoed softly as she manipulated light streams, enjoying the process as much as the result. Eshan was impressed. The child's instincts were sharp, and she seemed to understand energy in a way even he could not fully grasp. By the evening, their defenses were nearly complete. The cradle was surrounded by a network of adaptive shields and energy platforms, ready to react to any intrusion. As night fell, the sky above Valaris deepened to a rich shade of indigo. Twin moons hung above, casting soft silver light over the landscape. Eshan stood at the edge of the cradle with Lyra and Maya, looking out at the horizon. The silence was heavy, almost alive, as if Valaris itself were holding its breath. "We cannot wait," Eshan said quietly. "The Varrock are coming. We need to finalize the plans and prepare everyone." Lyra placed her hand on his shoulder. "You are human, yet you think like one of us. That is both remarkable and dangerous. Humans are persistent, but sometimes too stubborn. Do not underestimate what fear can do to you and to others." "I know," Eshan replied, "but we are ready. Together, we can fight smarter than them." Maya climbed onto his shoulder. "We will fight together," she whispered. Her small voice carried determination that warmed Eshan's heart. He realized that this bond between human and Velarisian was as important as any shield or trap. They were no longer teacher and student. They were allies, united by trust and necessity. During the night, they continued preparations. Eshan supervised the placement of final energy nodes and adaptive shields. He showed Maya how to link her energy manipulation directly to the defensive systems, giving them a responsive edge. Lyra coordinated with the rest of the clan, assigning roles and ensuring that everyone understood their part in the upcoming defense. Eshan observed the clan. They were not warriors by nature, but they were intelligent, disciplined, and deeply protective of one another. That was something humans shared. He realized that survival was not just about strength or weapons, it was about unity, trust, and the willingness to act for those who could not defend themselves. As dawn approached, Eshan finally allowed himself a moment to rest. He sat with Maya by the edge of a floating platform, watching the rising light illuminate Valaris's forests and streams. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "we show them what happens when kindness is defended." Maya looked at him with wide, trusting eyes. "Will they come?" "They will," Eshan said. "But they will not find us easy to defeat. Not if we work together." The first subtle tremors came just as the sun rose fully. Eshan stood quickly, signaling Lyra and Maya. On the horizon, small flashes appeared, dark ships moving faster than the eye could follow. The Varrock had arrived. The clan moved into position, their movements quiet but efficient. Eshan took his place among them, his mind clear and focused. Every shield, every energy node, every adaptive platform they had placed would now be tested. But he was not afraid. Humans survived because they faced impossible odds, and he had no intention of failing. The Varrock ships approached cautiously at first, scanning for energy signatures. When they detected the cradle's defenses, Eshan activated the hybrid shields. Energy flowed, bending and twisting in ways that mirrored Valaris's natural currents. The ships fired, but the attacks were deflected and absorbed. Lyra's voice rang out, calm and commanding, guiding her clan as they amplified the shields and activated adaptive platforms. Maya's hands flew over the energy nodes, strengthening connections and redirecting attacks. Eshan felt a thrill of pride. Their combined efforts were working exactly as he had imagined. The Varrock tried to adjust, using speed and firepower, but the planet's energy and their clever designs responded faster than they could predict. The humans' adaptability, combined with Velarisian intelligence, created defenses that the Varrock could not understand. By the end of the first wave, several Varrock ships had been damaged or forced to retreat. The attackers had underestimated the alliance between human ingenuity and Velarisian energy mastery. Eshan smiled grimly. They won't stop, he said. But neither will we. As the Varrock regrouped, the clan and Ishan prepared for the next phase. Each shield, each trap, and each defensive platform had been placed with care. The cradle itself was alive with energy, ready to protect the world that had given him a second chance. Ishan realized something profound. It was not just their technology that gave them strength. It was the bond between them, the trust, the unity, and the shared desire to survive and protect one another. Humans had this instinct. Velaresians had this instinct. Together, it was unstoppable. The Varrock were coming, but Ishan knew one thing clearly. Valaris would not fall easily, and when the battle truly began, they would stand together, human and Velaresian alike, as one unyielding force. The morning air on Velaris was tense. Humming with anticipation, Ishan stood on a floating platform near the edge of the cradle, feeling the energy pulse beneath his feet. The Varrock fleet was visible in the distance now, their dark, angular ships moving with precision. Ishan's mind raced, but his heart was steady. He had prepared for this moment, and he knew that Valaris itself, combined with their careful planning, would defend them. Lyra joined him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Are you ready?" she asked, her eyes calm but filled with determination. Ishan nodded. "We have done everything we can. Now, we act together. Humans survive by acting, not by waiting." Maya bounced in place, her small hands glowing with energy. "We can do it. The planet will help us." Ishan smiled at her confidence. "Yes, Maya. And we will help the planet too." The first Varrock ships began to descend toward the cradle, their sensors probing for weaknesses. Ishan activated the hybrid shields, and energy flowed along the protective platforms like rivers of light. The shields shimmered, bending light and masking their positions. The Varrock fired, but their attacks were deflected harmlessly into the atmosphere. "This is working," Lyra said, her voice steady as she coordinated the clan. "Keep your focus. Do not let fear guide your actions." Ishan directed Maya to link her energy manipulation to the adaptive platforms, allowing them to respond automatically to the enemy's movements. The child's hands danced across the panels, and the platforms shifted, creating barriers and traps that the Varrock could not anticipate. The Varrock commander realized something was wrong. Their ships slowed, trying to adjust to the strange energy fields protecting the cradle. Ishan seized the moment. He guided a series of energy channels to intercept the Varrock's weapons, redirecting the attacks back at the ships with minimal risk to Valaris. Several ships faltered, their hulls cracking under the unexpected resistance. Lyra called out to the clan. "Now, strengthen the nodes. Focus your energy." Every Velaresian responded, amplifying the energy flows. Ishan felt the planet's pulse strengthen beneath him, responding to their will. The cradle became a living fortress, adaptive and unpredictable. The Varrock, unprepared for a world defending itself, in combination with human ingenuity, struggled to find a way through. Maya's laughter rang out as she shifted energy streams with speed and precision. "Take that!" she shouted as a Varrock scout ship collided with a redirected energy barrier. Ishan felt a surge of pride. The child's instinct, combined with his planning and the clan's cooperation, created a force far stronger than any single species could muster. He realized that survival was not about power alone, it was about unity, creativity, and the willingness to act together. The Varrock commander, frustrated and increasingly desperate, ordered a full assault. Ships dived and weaved, firing in coordinated patterns, but the adaptive shields held. Platforms moved to intercept attacks. Energy nodes absorbed the fire. And Valaris itself seemed to respond, strengthening defenses wherever needed. Ishan shouted instructions, his voice calm but firm. "Redirect energy to the southern nodes. Use the terrain. Don't let them predict our movements." Lyra nodded, her eyes scanning the battlefield. "Follow him. Trust in his strategy and in the planet." Maya manipulated the energy with growing confidence, creating a dazzling array of defenses that forced the Varrock ships to slow and separate. Aishan watched carefully, calculating each movement. He directed energy flows to create traps that led Varak ships into zones where their weapons became useless, or where the planet's energy could push them back. The Varak commander realized they were trapped in a maze of shifting defenses. Every attack they launched was met with resistance, every maneuver predicted and countered. They had underestimated the alliance between human ingenuity and Velaresian power. Aishan saw an opening. He directed a concentrated energy beam, amplified by the planet's currents, toward the central Varak ship. The beam struck with precision, disabling engines and forcing it into retreat. One by one, the other ships faltered, unable to adjust to the unpredictable defenses. "Keep pushing," Aishan shouted. "Do not let them regroup." The Varak fleet, battered and confused, began to retreat. Aishan directed the final energy flows to create a corridor that funneled them away from Valaris entirely, ensuring no ship could linger near the cradle. As the last ship disappeared beyond the horizon, a cheer rose from the Velaresian clan. They had defended their world, not through sheer strength, but through intelligence, creativity, and unity. Lyra turned to Aishan, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You have done more than survive. You have shown us what humans can achieve when they act with wisdom and courage. Valaris owes you its safety today." Aishan shook his head. "I did not do it alone. Maya, you were incredible. Lyra, your guidance, and the planet itself helped us. We all stood together. That is why we won." Maya climbed onto his shoulder, glowing with pride. "We make a good team. You and me and Mother. And the planet." Aishan smiled, feeling a deep warmth. He had found a new family here. And a new purpose. Humans survived by helping one another, by combining knowledge and courage. Now, he had brought that spirit to Valaris. The clan gathered around, celebrating quietly but with profound relief. The cradle was safe, and Valaris had proven that even a peaceful world could defend itself with the right strategy and unity. Aishan walked with Lyra to a quiet cliff overlooking the battlefield. The wreckage of Varak ships drifted far below, harmless now. "Do you think they will return?" Lyra asked softly. "They might," Aishan said. "But now, they know Valaris is not easy to conquer. And next time, we will be even stronger. We've learned from today. That is what humans do. We adapt, we learn, and we survive." Lyra smiled. "Your people are remarkable. Persistence, courage, and creativity. You have brought those qualities here, and they have changed us." Aishan looked at the horizon, at the glowing forests, floating mountains, and the calm pulse of the planet. "This world saved me," he said quietly. "But I think we saved it too." Together, Maya hugged his neck. "You are one of us now," she said. "Valaris is your home too." Aishan felt a profound sense of belonging. He had arrived as a stranger, lost and alone. But through courage, ingenuity, and trust, he had become part of something greater than himself. He had defended a world not his own. And in doing so, he had shown the true spirit of humanity. The clan gathered around for a final ritual of thanks. Energy streams danced in the air, guided by human and Velaresian hands alike. Aishan felt a deep connection to Valaris, to the people who had welcomed him, and to the child who had shown him the joy of curiosity and hope. That night, Aishan lay under the glowing sky, watching twin moons rise over the cradle. The battle was over, and the planet was safe. But he knew that the galaxy was wide, and challenges would come again. Yet, he felt ready. Humans survived by acting together, by facing impossible odds, and by never giving up. He closed his eyes, feeling Maya's small hand in his, and whispered to himself, "I am ready. Whatever comes, we will stand together." Valaris pulsed softly beneath him, alive and strong. For the first time in a long time, Aishan felt peace. Not just because the Varak were gone, but because he had found a home, a purpose, and a family. He had opened his eyes to an alien world, and it had changed him forever. And somewhere beyond the distant stars, the Varrock fled, not defeated entirely, but wary. They had learned a lesson. Humans and Valeresians, united, were not to be underestimated. Aeshan knew that the battle was only one of many in the galaxy, but for now, Velaris was safe. He had survived, he had protected others, and he had proven that even a single human, with courage and determination, could make a difference. As he drifted into sleep beneath the glowing sky, surrounded by the mother and daughter who had saved him, Aeshan felt a quiet certainty. No matter what the universe sent next, they would face it together, human and Valeresian alike, and that certainty was stronger than any weapon.